All right, we live on Facebook, so don't talk bad about that boy again.
Okay.
You ain't want him to hear that, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Let me share this video in the meantime. Bing, bam, boom. All right, where is it? Right here. Make sure it's up. And it is up. Awesome.
Today on Greg, talking to the voices in his head.
Hey, listen, sometimes you got to talk to yourself, you know? You don't think so?
Take a look at you sitting there talking to yourself.
I remember that, man. They can look all they want. Shoot. I need a technical producer, man. You ain't know nobody want to wait for free.
No dread.
Sick dread. To find one young person with nothing to do. Erin.
No.
You got plenty of people that, you know, some young folks may be looking for something to do.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah. No, I mean you.
I could check on the web.
Yeah, I mean you. I want you to wait for free, man. No, man. No, man. Someone else who ain't got nothing better to do with their time.
Yeah, I could check on one of the brethren.
Yeah, you see? You got plenty of them knocking about. They can learn. You know, they can learn. Like, let me sell it like how them big companies and stuff. You can intern. You can learn a lot.
Gain some experience and exposure.
Yes, and
something
valuable.
to put on your resume.
Yes, valuable knowledge. You can't pay for this. You understand? Learning the board and all of this good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. A lot of them believe they's rappers and things. How much rappers you got in your class?
But 18. 18 or 24.
Whoa.
18 out of 24.
YRN, John Olds.
Erin.
Hi, Gail.
I just pulled the video. Hi, Erin.
Hi.
That was sick. Why everybody want to be a rapper, man? Still?
Yes.
Wow. I thought that was dead. Discussing part 2. School.
Okay, you put my government name on the situation.
Man, listen,
man.
I had to do it on I had to do it on that one because it wouldn't let me tag you. Maybe because you ain't like the page yet.
I like
Dun,
the
dun,
page.
dun.
Dun, dun,
Right
dun.
to the top of my feet, though.
Okay, well, I know that one. They ain't let me tag. They was hating.
She have a block.
Think so?
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
Real bad man, afraid of nobody. Something like that.
Just with this junglers. Yeah, it wouldn't let me tag. I didn't want to put your government name like that, but you know.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
alright.
fine.
So ain't nobody looking for you, eh?
Yeah, let's go with that story.
Well, the feds ain't looking for you.
Yeah, let's go with that story.
Wow.
Hello.
Mm.
Greetings.
Wow. No, man, you ain't never scared, man.
No.
Never scared. What Dakota saying? Why Dakota was? I gotta see what she's saying. She was dropping me something. Yes. Life. Gail, you finished washing dishes?
Yeah, but that's straight.
Alright, cool. Oh, what were we talking about? Jeez. Aaron, I want some juicy stories. I want the real.
Juicy stories.
The real. Not made up stories now. You ain't got to fabricate.
I only see them from in the classroom.
That's
and
all I want.
I hear about them and such.
Yeah, man,
So
I wanna hear what's
don't know
going
how
on.
juicy that is, but
I want to know what's going on with the youths them. Because ain't nobody checking for them, man.
and they know that.
We just discarding them and dismissing them as they you know, they ain't want to learn and all this foolishness. So
Oh yeah.
I want understand what they thinking and what they feeling. I care about them. I care about the youth. You see the passion in my face?
I feel,
You feel
it.
that?
It's emanating from you, sir.
I love the youths them.
It's really long.
Say what? One more share. Let me try to call this girl while I sharing this thing. She was done rubbing it in down when she the out back. I suppose that'll be out back here too, you know. At least you don't care like y'all Bahamians, you know y'all just go away and y'all don't want to go to no restaurant within the Bahamas. None whatsoever. Y'all ever been with people like that?
No.
You never been with no like that?
I do selective
Listen.
traveling.
You go with some people, they tell you, listen, if it in Nassau, I don't want to go to it. Christina.
Greg.
Why you sound like that, girl? Why you sound like you want to me? You still in the restaurant, eh? Okay, tell you what. When you get free out the restaurant, call. You see the number show up, right?
I'll call you.
Yeah, call the number when you
I'll
get
call
out.
you.
All right.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that Greg.
Yeah. You see how she sound dead hot. Them people over there making her mad. I know it ain't me. Even though I stalked up hard sometimes. It ain't me this time, though.
Okay, that's good.
All right, that's all I'm going to share, so let's get the crack-a-lack in. You see how she sneak back in here, right?
I noticed.
Mom. Anyhow. All right, welcome back. Under the Rug. And we had to come back, people, last week. You know, unfortunately, we got the show started a bit late last week. And so Erin and Gail had to depart about halfway through the show. And that was before we could really get, you know, real deep into the issue. I mean, we still covered quite a bit. I think we still got some good information. We heard some stories, but I don't think we got to, you know, cover the full spectrum of, you know, what's really taking place with the youth in our high schools. And, of course, again, this situation sparked from the 15-year-old boy that was shot to death. I mean, this was a catalyst for this show, but, you know, we've been hearing about violence taking place in schools, you know, for a long time. But that was just the event that, you know, sparked this topic last week. And it was the 15-year-old that was, I think, shot in a drive-by shooting, I think it was. And his father, you know, was on the news, you know, pleading, you know, saying that, you know, he told them, you know, that he had some problems with some students at the school. He didn't want him to stay in that school because of a gang situation or some gang affiliations. And so we just wanted to dive deeper into the whole gang violence, school violence, you know, just what's going on with our youth. And last week, in preparation for last week's show, I saw a TED Talk. I forget the gentleman's name, but I played a clip for it on last week's show. If you guys want to hear it, you can go back to last week's episode and check out the clip. But the most profound thing that stood out to me in that clip was where he said that if the youth don't feel a part of the village, they would burn it down to feel its warmth. And I think that's what we're experiencing here in the Bahamas with our youth. They don't feel a part of the village. They don't feel as though people care about them. They feel as though adults dismiss them all the time. They don't have any, you know, important roles to play. They're not taken into consideration. And I think this is why we see these actions, them acting out, whether it be through violence, whether it be twerking on a stage. They're just doing a lot of stuff to get attention, you know what I mean? Because they don't feel as though people care about them. And so we have back PYT, our progressive young teacher, Miss Erin Knowles, who is a teacher. So she sees firsthand, she deals with, and it's high school.
Yes.
She teaches high school, so she sees firsthand, she experiences it firsthand. And I don't know everything, plenty of things I don't know, so I bring in people that know what they're talking about, experts that can speak on certain topics. I ain't gonna try and act like I know about it, so I want her to speak on her experiences with the students so that we could get to the bottom of it and we could come to a solution and at least try to cut down or eliminate the amount of violence we see with our youth in our school system. So that's what we're going to be doing. Erin, like I said, is here. We also have Gail, who's on the line. She's not in person, but she is on the show, joining us via telephone. Say hello to your people. My light-skinned Rasta.
Hello.
Yes, so Gail is here. So we're going to continue last
You
week's
two
topic.
today.
Say again?
You have two light-skinned rastas today.
Yeah, see? You got a lot, ma. All right, honorable. Yes, I am. Still. I's a Rasta too, you know. Don't mind me. You know, you ain't got a dread to be Rasta, you know. You know how I dread to be Rasta. I's Rasta too, okay?
Long as you know.
But let's continue the conversation. What I want to know is, and I'm sure you have some experiences.
I do have experiences.
With students. And I want you to give us some of those events that took place or conversations that you've had with students that just you will never get out of your head because it was so impactful or shocking, or just can you give us, like, if you pull us behind the curtain for a bit to let us know what some of these students are going through, would they confide in you, like the information you receive from them on a regular basis?
I think one of the most traumatizing experiences, aside from the death of Adonai at Doris Johnson, was when a young man I ended up searching his bag because we had a surprise random search of different classes about a year or two ago. And he specifically asked that I search his bag.
Interesting.
And I did. And in his bag was a switchblade knife. And he was looking at me with pleading eyes not to remove this knife from his bag. So I didn't.
Whoa. What's that sound right there? What the hell is going on? Sorry. We using my daughter phone to call Gail. That was something from Frozen start playing just now. But go ahead, sorry. So you searched his bag and there was a switchblade.
There was a switchblade
He didn't want you to
knife.
remove it.
No, and he was just, his eyes told me that, please, Miss Knowles, leave the knife in the bag. I took the knife out of the bag, but I kept it. I didn't turn it over to administration. And after class, I called him over and I asked him, I said, well, why do you have this weapon in your bag? It's prohibited. You shouldn't. I mean, come on, man. And it isn't like it was like a small one. It was like it was one of them long
One of them
boys.
Rambo knife.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, sir, you have to like give me some logical explanation as to why this is in your bag. And he said, Miss Knowles, every day that I come to this school, I'm risking my life. And he says, where I have to walk just to get here and to get back home, if I don't have that knife, it's quite possible that I could die.
What?
Wow.
And I will never forget that. I will never forget that young man. I see him regularly where he works now. But for him to come to school at Doris, and he lived in the Kemp Road area, it was literally...
And he had to walk to school?
And he walked.
From Kemp Road to Doris Johnson?
If he caught the bus, he was going to end up in an even worse
Oh, my
situation.
goodness.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And so I had no choice but to give him back the knife because I don't know him as a violent student. My interactions with him, he was one of the most respectful students I've ever dealt with. He listened to instruction. He really wanted to learn. And he said, I promise you, I'm not using this here. This is only for when I go home. So I said, okay, every day you come to school, you bring it to me. And when you leave in the evenings, you get it back from me. And that was how he dealt with that. And many times he came to school beaten up.
Oh, really?
He came to school black-eyed, bloodied.
Wow.
Goodness. So what, like, does the school not intervene in these situations? Like, if a child comes to school visibly beaten and battered.
Well, they aren't going to tell any and everyone, or I get beat up because I live in rival gang territory, or the school is in rival gang territory. Because one, I have to gain some respect as well. I have to stand up for myself. This is me who I have. The school isn't going to be there to deal with the after effects of this.
That's true.
So telling someone isn't necessarily going to help anything because the school isn't going to ensure that someone's taking you home at the end of the day.
They only care about what happens
Right
on
there
that campus.
on
Once
that
you leave there,
campus.
you're on your own like Bad Bone.
Right, basically.
Wow. That is amazing.
Last days of school, every last day of school, I have young men hiding in my car where I have to drop them so that they don't get ganged.
What the hell is going on?
Like, I
Wow.
give them my car key, and I give them $2.55. I say, y'all could go. And they go and they hide in my car.
Are you
Or we
kidding
have the
me?
police on campus waiting to make sure nothing of that nature happens.
Hold on, you just blew
Wow.
my mind. I was not expecting this out the gate.
I'm telling you.
You threw me off my rocker just now. Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay. Have you had conversations with them about their environment at home and how they got caught up in this situation that they're currently in, where they have to travel to school, to and from school with a knife because they fear for their lives? Like, have you had a conversation with them to find out, how did this happen? Like, where did this come about? How do you get involved in this?
They're raised in that environment. There's no other option in their mind aside from let me matriculate into the same standard that my older brother did, or that my father did, or my uncles, or the people that are actually there around me, what they're doing. And this is the only way. As a matter of fact, today I did a small survey with some of my 10th grade students about gang-based violence.
Okay.
And I asked them, I said, a couple questions I asked. Why do you think people get involved in gangs, specifically teenagers? Like, why has it become so popular now? A lot of them answered and said, we have no choice.
Really?
That's one thing. And the second thing was, my parents don't love me. Like some of them wrote it on the paper, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm saying this, but I've never specifically seen it written down by more than 2 or 3 students. I have 8, 9, 10
Wow.
children saying my parents don't love me.
About 9, 10 students out of how many did the survey?
28 students did the survey.
Oh, 10, 20.
So-
okay, about 30% or so, somewhere around that, said that their parents just straight up don't love them.
Just no love.
Wow.
There's they feel no love, no sense of belonging. They have to do it for protection. What's the rest? Influence, stripes, respect, privileges,
Wow.
fame, popularity. And the area where we live, we just have no choice.
Oh my goodness. And see, I don't ever hear, you rarely hear, I don't know if you hear about it, Gail, but you rarely hear about, like, in mainstream news and media, like, you rarely hear a focus on this aspect of, you know, the violence that takes place in school. We just hear about the end result. Okay, well, such and such
Right.
student was stabbed, such and such student was
Right,
shot. But
right.
we never really dive into why this is taking place.
My thing actually was listening to Erin speak. She's putting herself at a personal risk
Yes.
as a teacher out of concern for these students.
Mm-hmm.
And
in which ways? Go
more
ahead.
teachers like her who actually care about their students are putting themselves at a physical risk
Yes.
as a result of this violence.
Because if you driving through and you have some randoms from one gang in your car and you passing through another area,
Exactly.
your car isn't tinted and someone see them in there,
Mm-hmm.
automatically, okay, we bracing up this teacher car.
And the thing is,
Wow.
in these days, it seems as though they don't care who's around.
They
And I mean, you can hear
don't.
from a lot of deaths, like they just roll up, they just start shooting, or they start throwing. They don't care who's around. Their whole thing is, I want to get this person. I don't care who got to go with them, because that's, you know, child getting shot doing homework. You hear about kids getting shot through the corner by just hanging around somebody. It's like you don't even have to be involved, but once you're in close proximity to that person, you then become at risk of losing your life just by being there.
Yeah.
Wrong place at the wrong time or right time,
Erin.
whatever you want to call it. Go ahead, Gail.
Sorry, I wanted to ask if you felt that the administration or the administrative team were supportive of teachers like you who actually care about their students.
Why are you putting me on the spot like that? It's
Sorry, Dad. Sorry, bye-bye.
I mean, you can be honest. I mean, you can
I
find
love
a...
my
Bye-bye.
job.
Maybe you could speak from the perspective of a hypothetical teacher.
Well, the first thing I can
may.
say is we're often told not to become close with our students.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember specifically being told by a senior person that I shouldn't hug children. I shouldn't hug the students that I teach. And,
Well,
Did they give reasons?
well, they said because it can come off as inappropriate. Listen to Frozen. The Frozen
Well, let's
kicks
keep
up
playing,
again. They said, well, it can come off as inappropriate, 1, and 2, their famous metaphor of licking the puppy and you don't lick the puppy and play with the puppy and all that stupidness.
little puppy, lick your mouth.
Yeah, that
Oh,
that
my
one.
goodness.
That one, yeah. So they like to use that and say, at the end of the day, the student will still take advantage of you or turn against you.
Now,
So
do you agree with
beware.
that?
Of course I don't. Like,
Okay.
what? I hug these people's children every single day because sometimes that's the only warmth and empathy that they
Exactly.
actually have any contact with, and
Exactly.
that's something that they look forward to. Some of them find it weird that I smile every day. Like, it's weird to them. Why are you always so happy? And
Oh my
sometimes
goodness.
inside, I'm not happy because I have to deal with administration. Like, come on, like y'all don't even know. But I smile because I know that at some point this is the only positive influence that they're going to have in their day. But to them, that's out
Weird.
of the ordinary.
And that should tell you what kind of backgrounds they're coming
yes.
from. Where it's like, why are you happy? Like, what you,
Yeah,
what
like-
you
like
have to be
they're
so
asking-
happy about?
Okay.
Miss Knowles, what you smiling for? Why you always smiling like this?
Wow.
Why we could always see your back teeth? What happened?
But then I think what it is you probably realize that attitude is contagious.
Yes.
You see, so you're setting the
Yes.
tone. You're setting the tone with positivity, and hopefully that will, you know, spread throughout the environment, and they, feel a sense of warmth and happiness because
Right.
you are smiling, you are showing that you're happy, and they would, reciprocate that. And I tell people all the time, attitude is contagious. It is contagious. But about this not embracing, not caring, or not getting to learn your students too much or get too personal. Like, I don't understand why we continue to remain with these antiquated ways of operation when we can see that it's clearly not working.
I agree with you.
We
I
stick with
agree
things
with
that
you
we know ain't
completely.
working, but we'll beat it to death. Gail, why do you think we're so against progressing and moving beyond these, ancient thoughts and ways of operating?
To me, it's all about the perception or the picture that you're putting towards, right? So with education, there have been so many developments in education and the use of technology in the classroom and so on and so forth that I believe that our government has not taken advantage of because we have to save face. So it's easier to keep these archaic methods in place and the things that the students are learning and the way that people teach and so on, rather than doing the work to actually change it.
Okay, so it's like
That's my 5 cents.
So it's like I say all the time. we just concerned with the car being clean. We ain't care if the engine running. It just got to look good on the outside.
I've watched my mother as a teacher struggle because it's not like teachers don't know what they need or what can be done, what's out there, but they do not have the support of the administrative team and in general the government.
I can agree with that to an extent, because as a progressive young teacher, good teachers are around, and we take advantage of the technology to the extent where we invest our personal funds, and this was brought out in the conversation that our BUT president had with Mr. Lionel Sands, the director. We take our own funds to invest in different ways to differentiate instruction to meet the needs of our different learners. So some teachers will just not do it because the ministry ain't put it there. Like, the ministry only give me a board and they give me 2 dry erase markers. That's what I can do for the whole year. Good teachers buy a projector, buy the board games, get all of the necessary technological training. They find ways. I do all of my online courses.
That ain't good teachers. That's superheroes. They superheroes
Exactly.
because look at, I wasn't doing it. Why should I have to spend my own? But go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
But when we implement what we're learning outside of what we've been taught and trained by the ministry, our classrooms are looked at as mismanaged, or why is your class so loud? Why is your class so noisy? Why is this? You obviously have a discipline issue. And I'm like, do you know the difference between good noise and bad noise? Because I can have an English language Jeopardy game going on in my class. Every child is involved. And that class is going to be loud.
Yes. Because they're engaged and they're probably excited because it's something different and it's
But
something.
to someone walking past, they won't ask you. They will tell you that you have a problem with your class. So, to an extent, I agree with Gail that we're not taking advantage as much as we could with technology that is available, but teachers are doing the best that they can.
No, that's what I meant. I don't know.
But there are some who definitely will tell you, if the ministry give it to me, then I will use it. But if you ain't give me it, don't expect me to use it.
And that's the thing. Like,
I don't think it's fair for teachers to have to go in pocket.
I agree.
I don't think it's fair either.
And that's what I was just about to say. I'm like, I really can't blame those teachers for feeling that way because, listen, you put me here to do a job. You should provide the necessary tools that I need in order for me to do a job.
Yes.
If we on a construction site and you hired me as a worker to, we're going to go build this house, and you don't provide no kind of tools. We ain't got no hammer. We ain't got no cement. We ain't got nothing. How are we supposed to put the house together?
And
Exactly.
saying that leads to this neglect that young children and teenagers feel because they're feeling it at home because they're being neglected by their parents. But when they come to school and teachers are only teaching those who are the visual learners or the linguistic learners, those who are book smart, you're not meeting the needs of the bodily kinesthetic learners, the hands-on learners, then they're neglected even further. So now they need to feel a sense of belonging. They don't belong in the classroom. They don't belong at home. Where they belong, one up, four down.
Wow.
And that's the thing. They're seeking any kind of validation or any kind
anything
of acceptance from anyone. And unfortunately, the ones that are getting to them and showing them the affection or attention that they need happens to be these
daddy
gang,
jokes.
daddy jokes and Teflon Timmy them.
Yep.
These gang members, these gang leaders, they just happen to reel them in and take advantage of that moment, the vulnerable moments that they're in because they're not feeling this love. But I want to put you on the spot a little bit.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
And this may be a tough one. You ain't got to answer. But what percentage of good teachers would you say we have out of the pool that you've been around? What if you had to give a range, a percentage? What would you consider good, and which ones would just be like, listen, I only here to punch my time in and get my paycheck at the end of the month. I ain't care about these children. If they learn, they learn. If they don't, they don't. I just want my money.
Can I preface this by saying I'm not good at math? So
I know, right?
take my answer with a grain of salt. I would say there's about 2 to 5% of very good teachers.
Wow.
But at the same time, we have teachers that are not the superheroes. We have the average teacher that will do exactly what is required of them to make sure we have students who can function in the subject area that they're there for. I don't call them good teachers. I call them just teachers.
They're okay.
They're doing their job. They're
Right.
doing what they're supposed to do. I don't classify them in the good teacher range. I just classify them as teachers. But at the same time, when I have a problem with parents who hold teachers' feet to the fire and browbeat them over and repeatedly for every social ill that exists, when these same just average regular teachers, the good teachers, are the ones that save their children from suicide every other day because of them, the parents.
Hold on now. We can't gloss over that.
Like I'm
You've
telling
actually
you,
witnessed people that were on the brink of committing suicide
Greg,
that had to be...
I've been in ambulances with them.
Wow.
I did not know this.
I've been in ambulances with them.
Wow. Like how many times have you come across a suicidal student?
If I
They doing it at school?
let me say it like this: the EMT knows me by name.
Oh, look
The
here.
EMT. When I jump
I
in the
can't
back,
even breathe.
when
I
I
tell
jump
you-
in the back of the ambulance, they say, "Miss Knowles, not you again."
You're rocking me today.
Wow.
I was not expecting this. And this is the thing, like this, I think so many of us are unaware of what really takes place within our schools.
Yes.
That if we knew,
Yes.
I think we would stop focusing on all the, well, what I consider to be nonsense. It may be important not to be, but some of the stuff that we really put a lot of attention on, I think we would care a lot more about
Yeah.
this situation, because I had no idea that you have
If you
suicidal
honestly,
students
if
on a
you
regular
didn't have
and
teachers,
parents going to and from school with weapons because they fear for their lives every day.
if you didn't have teachers, you would have a very high suicide rate in this country. I promise you that.
And that's the thing. And like you said, I
Baby
wanted you
thing
to...
playing again.
I don't
Yeah,
know why
Frozen.
this. I don't know why Frozen
Let
keep
it go.
interrupted.
Let it go.
But you said, I want you to touch on
Yeah.
the...
And say that again, the last bit.
Say again, Gil?
The last part she said, I didn't hear it.
I don't even remember
I
what the
don't remember
last
either.
part was.
Speaking about suicide.
Oh,
they're actually
if-
attempting this in school.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, Lord, I can get quiet. Yes.
No, man, they can't fire you, man.
Yes.
So, attempting
Sorry.
it in schools.
I've intervened several cuttings in school.
And
My God.
what happens after?
They're referred to the guidance counselor, then they're referred to social services, and then they take
And
it out of my hands.
Do you have repeat?
Yes.
Okay, so clearly there's a link that's broken here.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because if they're going through this process, but then still ending back up with the same behavior,
And it's the home.
Something is not-
It's always the home. Gang banging, suicide. It's always the home.
well, let's touch on that because you said parents put up blames on the teachers. So let's talk about that parent-teacher relationship, interaction, conflict, whatever it may be.
Yes.
Let's talk about like how often do you have parents come in and expecting you guys as teachers to be the be-all, end-all, the people that are supposed to be fully responsible for their children and supposed to raise their children.
Report card day.
Report card day. Let's walk us through a report card day. What's a typical report card day?
A typical report card day would be parents come at 8:30 a.m. Report card day doesn't start until 9 a.m.
Oh, they early.
But they expect the teachers to be there and giving them the reports at 8:30 a.m.
Oh, wow.
That's one. When they get the report card and they see 6 Fs, 2 Ds, 1 A.
Oh, at least they get an A. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's family life.
I thought it was a PE. Go ahead.
It's not even PE, F
oh
and
my
PE.
God. How you get F and PE, man?
They walk around and tell all of the teachers that where the child got that F, it was your responsibility to call me and tell me my child was failing that class. Every report card day. It's your responsibility as the teacher to call me and tell me my child was failing that class. Not them come in at any point in time between September and December 21st, because usually that's when report card day is. September 4th, 5th, 6th, school opens.
And are these people that show up to PTA meetings? Aaron laugh, Gail.
Did she just laugh?
Excuse me? PTA meetings are TTA meetings, Teacher Association
So they don't
meetings.
show up to find out how their children are doing,
No.
but when report card day comes, they say,
Oh,
well, you
they-
ain't tell me nothing.
Listen, they are in your face.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
And sometimes there are legitimate concerns. Like, there are like 5%. There are some concerns where the whole class failed, so obviously something wasn't really working out too well in that class. And we will address that. But you know Alicia ain't do a thing in school. All she do is come to school, flip her skirt, put on her eyebrows, her fake brows, and push her hair up
Whoa.
into and duck school and jump the thing. And you see 2 videos of her fighting on R and Bailey Park. And you can come to school report card day to punch it out with the teacher. How?
Wow. Wow.
How?
So they are making excuses for their students. Well, what I think is they want to... Here's what I think it is with the parents when they do this. And I understand it, right? They're not bad people.
No.
And they feel as though if they are seen at fault, that they would be considered bad parents or bad people. So they want to
Yes.
pass that responsibility on to someone
somebody
else,
else, yep.
so that they don't feel as though they are the bad person.
Yes.
But like I tell people all the time, we need to learn how to separate these things, right? Good people...
Have the parents stay in the schools?
Say again, Gail?
Are the parents educated, or have they attained a high school diploma?
Well, some of the parents were actually students of Doris Johnson at one point.
Oh, wow.
So they're young, they're fairly young, but they have some level of common sense. They know that, I mean, like, come on, you need to actually check in at some point. So I don't think it has much to do with
Their education
their
level.
education.
I think,
If you have enough sense to come to report card day, you have
Yeah.
sense to visit the school at any other time to check on that child.
I think it's more so, Gail, I think it's more so a social upbringing as opposed to education level. Not saying that their education level has nothing to do with it, but I think it's more of their upbringing, their culture.
When I was saying their education level, I was referring to their socialization or what school actually meant to them, where they were only making an appearance on when it's time to be reviewed, as opposed to the actual process
But
of education.
most parents come to report card day because they know if they don't collect the report, it's going to be a hassle to get the child back in school the next term.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or they use it as a means to say you can't get Christmas present if you don't get this or that. So there's this you don't value very few of them value education for its holistic ability to actually build a nation builder or create a citizen. They view it as something to hold as a chokehold on the children. You have to do good for these trivial reasons, to get this iPhone, to get this, to get that, to get right.
Yeah.
You don't have to do good because this is your
Development,
intelligence.
yeah,
This
it's gonna
is
help you with
important
life.
to you as a person.
Right. I know just what you mean. Let me try and at least read some of the comments, because Gail, I ain't gonna lie, I suck at getting through comments. For these people, it's because I mean, you get so you have good conversation and you just want to continue that conversation.
Continuing.
So yeah, it's kind of difficult for me to keep some, but I want to I appreciate the comments, so I want to read some of them. And Linda Russell says things have changed so much since I left the Bahamas in 1987.
Sure, Linda.
1987.
Yeah, that's a long
Wow.
time. Trust me, we changed plenty.
We
Changed plenty
listen,
since
we changed-
1997,
we-
State
2007.
Street is one way now.
2013 to
Yeah.
now, things have changed
Very much so.
significantly.
Kira Wallace says, sad situation. I agree. Deidre says, more people need to take more time. And that's a rough one because, and here's where I kind of empathize with parents as well.
Yes.
People are working more hours for less pay these days because the cost of living continues to go up. Your pay isn't going up very much, so you have to take on extra gigs, take on extra hours, overtime hours, and a lot of time, especially if it's a single parent home. I mean, if the person is working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 2 hours to 3 hours in traffic, by the time you get home, you know what I mean, the day is almost gone and you have to repeat the cycle, so it's very hard to get that time. Go ahead, Erin, you're itching to say something.
I can counter that though, because I make myself available to my parents on any given day at any given time. WhatsApp, call, Facebook Messenger. You can reach Miss Knowles from any point in time. Like
But remember now, you say it's 5%.
right,
So-
but I'm saying, yes, we empathize. I empathize with parents who are working these 2 and 3 jobs, but at the same time, you sitting in traffic for 3 hours, you sitting on your phone scrolling through Facebook. Call me.
True.
That is
Ask
true.
me how
That
your
is true.
child is doing in class.
Right, that is
Call me. So I don't view time as an excuse for why parents cannot check in on their child's progress.
I got you.
A lot of
agree.
parents see school as babysitting service.
Yes.
You're right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Dakota says Gail Cole, like she ain't got to go back to school.
Sorry,
I guess
Erin.
you must put a hard question there. And there was a long one. I'll probably come up with it later. But again, I agree with you, Erin. What we do is we make time for things we want, right?
Exactly.
And unfortunately, we don't prioritize our children, and we treat our children as an inconvenience in a lot of situations. We treat our children like we don't plan families. Let's be real, right? Let's be honest. Us as black Bahamians tend not everybody, so don't jump. Oh, I ain't like that.
I just gonna
Yeah,
say.
not everybody, but if we
You know
are
they coming.
honest, and if you go by the numbers, especially with the amount of children being born to single parents and stuff like that, if we go by the numbers and we be honest, we have a lot of oops children around.
Yeah.
We got plenty oops babies around, and so because this wasn't something that we prepared for and planned for, after the child reaches, we tend to treat them just like that.
Yes.
And it's an inconvenience because now I can't do the things that I want to do or move the way I want to move because of this person now. And I think we have to do a better job of, and I mean, I'm sure you may not plan the child, that's fine, but take responsibility. The child reached.
Yes.
Child is here. You are responsible. The child didn't ask to be here. They wasn't here when you was having that good feelings to make them. They didn't ask to be here. Now it's your chance to take a responsibility as an adult to make the time for your children. I get it because it's hard. I'm a busy individual too. I have a child, but I recognize that I have to make time. I have to make as much time to help with homework here and there. Now I have, she has both parents, so that's a help. A lot of people don't have that luxury, but I'm sure, like you said, if you're scrolling on Facebook while you sitting on the red light, you could make that phone call.
Yes.
You could find out what's going on with your child in school. Or if you go home to watch Love and Hip Hop, that's an hour time you could have spent with your child or doing something with your child, some activity or something. So, like you said, time isn't a good enough excuse.
No.
It isn't.
But I have some interesting responses to the solutions question that I posed to my 10th graders today. I said,
Awesome.
what do you think can discourage young people from becoming involved in gangs. And sad to say, out of the 8, 9 children who said that the parents are the reason why some of them join gangs, only one person actually said the parents need to take time to solve this issue. Only one person said,
That's very interesting.
parents, if not parents, nothing will work. That was their exact response. If not parents, nothing will work. The scariest part was reading the answers to these children's response to the question.
My goodness, frozen. Go ahead.
The children said the only way to discourage children from involving themselves in gangs is seeing their friends killed at a young age.
Wow.
Go to jail, hospital, or in the graveyard. Scare them out of it. Let the gang bosses out of jail to talk to the teens and discourage them and explain to them that gangs is not the right road to go. And the worst one was watching their family killed in their face. Someone wrote that down as a way
A
to
deterrent.
discourage
What?
children.
So
from
hold on, this was
joining gangs.
one person, or this was
This
a
is
number?
this is the response from a number of them.
Oh my goodness.
And I said,
And you know what?
well then,
That's, you know why that's so disturbing and why that's upsetting to me is because I hear a lot of these older folks saying, oh, you gotta be harsh, you gotta punish and do this and that. I hate that approach because that is after the fact.
yes.
They don't
Yes.
learn your feel.
That is reactionary. You know what I mean? That is after the bad things have already taken place.
Yeah.
We are not looking to be proactive and prevent. We didn't take in preventative measures. That's not preventing anything.
No.
That's just reacting to something bad happening.
Yeah.
And it's
Aaron,
just,
and
go ahead, Gil.
sorry, in your opinion, at what grade level are these children first introduced to gang violence?
And now, primary school. Primary school.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Let me get a couple more comments. Dakota says the disconnect that is established between adolescents and adults in this country is vast. She also says we raise children the way we raise animals. And times have changed. This generation of children have evolved, but the adults haven't figured out how to communicate to them. Our methods of child rearing are simply too archaic.
Yep.
I agree. And then we have Tara says we need to take a look at Japan education system. I don't know. You familiar with Japan education system? I don't know.
No.
I don't know what aspects of Japan's education system Tara is referring to, but maybe if she could elaborate in the comments, I'm not sure. Preston Sweeting says, I raise my Rottweiler better than some humans do with their children. Wow.
Jeez.
Wow.
But hey, you know what? That's harsh and rough, but it's
the
actually
truth.
true.
It is the
Because
truth.
if you see the way some people raise their children,
Really feed them better.
I'm going to have to agree. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And Deidre says, I understand, but you have to make time. Preston says, Miss Knowles is making sense and she needs to be director of education.
Oh, Glory, please
Aaron,
don't do
they're
that.
trying to give you big
Oh.
position.
They're trying to get me fired. That's
Big
what they're trying to do.
position.
Loletta Thomas says, I agree. Most teachers are accessible. They give email address, phone contacts. If they don't take the initiative to get theirs or at least give them yours, your child is your responsibility.
Absolutely.
And Deidre says, I guess, based on the comment you just made, scared straight. So a lot of them in the responses said that they have to be scared or traumatized into changing at this point.
Uh-huh.
I would have never guessed that.
That's honestly the last thing I expected to read when I collected those papers today.
And
It
that's
was
The thing about
last
that
thing.
is, right, if you've ever lost a family member or somebody close to you and know how devastating that is, and the fact that these children feel that that level of devastation is required to actually stop this problem, that's kind of scary to me.
very scary. Very scary. And I think we need some form of intervention because I don't think at this point they're thinking right. And maybe
Yes.
this is all they know. Like I said, because of their upbringing, this is all they see at this point. Like you said, a lot of them said, there's no other way. This is the only way.
Right.
They only see this as the only way. So we need to broaden their perspective. How do you think we can do that? How can we get them to have a broader perspective and see different opportunities and different ways to approach life and approach situations outside of what they've known for their whole, life at this point?
Well, I try to expose them to different lived experiences of other people. For example, we look at what young people are doing in other countries and what they're able to create. We were looking at the young girl who had made some breathing apparatus of some sort. No, it was a young boy who found a way for if you left a baby in the car, and there was a way that you could break a glass or do something and allow air to go into the car without necessarily damaging the car so much. So some little boy, he came up with this invention, and I tried to show them things like this. And then we talk about their career goals, and I tried to steer them away from...
This is interesting. Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear about their career goals. Go ahead.
I tried to steer them away from the usual rapper, basketball player, track athlete stuff. I said, now, what do you think you can do that can actually make this country better? And some of them have, some of those who are the most defiant are the ones who would want to join the police force. But but they can't see that for them, because all they see with any experience with police and such is violence. It's always violence in their neighborhood. But they've said they've always wanted, because someone in their family was a police officer. And but of course, that person died by means of some gang situation. And I'm like, okay, this is tough. But then we talk about not everyone has to be doctor, lawyer.
Yes.
If you're a good carpenter, perfect that skill. If you're a good electrician, make sure you find your way in that class. Doris Johnson is a magnet school where it offers so many technical subjects. I am impressed with what we have. We have computer automated design, we have graphical engineering, we have auto body, we have auto mechanics, we have carpentry, food nutrition, food preparation, hospitality, entrepreneurship. We have so many options. But what impresses me most is one of the young men, and sad to say, he's the only one that admitted to being in a gang on my sheet. He said, I am in a gang. But he's in food nutrition. And he was so proud of the first cake that he baked. He brought it to me. He brought it to class to give me a piece of it. And he says, Miss Knowles, I think, aside from your class, food nutrition is the best class that I've ever been in.
Wow.
And I can see myself being a pastry chef in
amazing.
the future. And so I try to encourage them to pursue their career goals. And I do so in ways where I give them articles on their field of choice. So I go and I search up different things that would appeal to them. And then I teach them how to write specific to their field. So the first thing I did with my grade 12s this year was, let's write your cover letter for when you graduate. Where would you like to apply first when you graduate? Because you're going to need a job. Even if you go to school, you still will need some source of income. So let's write your cover letter. That was the hardest thing for them to do, market themselves.
Well, that's hard for a lot of adults to do, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't know how to market themselves. But that's a good practice.
And then it showed me how they are so disconnected even in school, because teachers teach and they say, okay, I'm teaching you my subject. We don't teach to say this is connected to something else. This is connected to the other subject. English language literacy spans every single discipline. So there's no reason for a child to tell me that I don't have to focus on spelling and grammar in my coursework because that ain't English, that's history. But teachers encourage that. But I try to connect everything. So when they're writing their letters, I said, well, if you're in food prep, a young lady told me she wanted to be an event planner.
Okay.
I said, so what are your options? She said, I'm in food nutrition, food prep, and hospitality. So when it came to the section where she's talking about her accomplishments in the cover letter, she's looking at me like she doesn't know what to say. I said, you just told me your accomplishments. You have 3 years knowledge and experience in these 3 subjects that absolutely work with what you want to be. She says, so you mean I could actually do this for true?
Wow.
There you go. And see, that's
and
the
I'm like,
thing.
well, duh.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, see, you are probably the first person that first of all, take an
Broke
interest,
that down.
take
Yeah.
an interest in what they actually want to do, and when they do tell you what it is they want to do, actually encouraging them and showing them that you can do it. They don't have
Yes.
anybody else telling them that it's possible. You know, like people to this day still ask me, like, you sell cookies like every day, all day, like that working out for you, like that good for you, like
That actually
like
happening?
they can't fathom that you can have a career in the fields outside of these traditional
Yes.
fields that we tend to go in, where it be, you know, government job or accountant or lawyer, whatever it is that they point you, whatever direction
Yes.
they point you in, they can't fathom you experiencing any degree of success in a field outside of those parameters. It's because they personally have not seen anybody do it.
Yes,
And that's
that's
why
correct.
it's difficult for them to grasp that. Because, I mean, say, you mean I could do this, but true?
And that's why a lot of children don't value the time that they are in school because they're already told you need to get your BGCSEs to go to college, but they don't want to go to college.
Exactly. And that's my thing. I hate.
So school means nothing to them because, oh, hell, I'm not going to college, so then obviously I don't need these exams and I don't need to pay attention in school because I only pay attention to get these exams.
And I hate forcing people to go to school.
Agreed.
When it comes, and not, and I'm in high school, like college, tertiary education, after high school. I hate forcing. You think I can waste my money sending my child to college when they don't want to go? You telling me you don't want to go? Now, some people may say, oh, well, you know, I didn't want to go, but my parents forced me and that
Yes.
worked out the best. Well, you probably would have worked out anyhow, no matter what you do, because that's the kind of person you are.
Right.
You understand? But for the most part, and they want to get angry at the students when they either drop out or don't do well, but they told you this is not
This
where
is
my
not.
interest lies.
Yes.
This is what you want for me, but you're not showing an interest in what I want for me. And I
And-
think a lot of times parents don't do that. They don't figure or find out what it is their children want. They want to impose what they want onto their children.
And I've seen it every year, every single year when we write, because I help them with I turn their college application essays into a graded assignment in class. So we work on that for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And those who want to pursue writing as a field, journalism or photography and such, they can't do it because their parents say, well, who paying for that?
Exactly.
How you supposed to make? And I had parents come to school mad at me because I am facilitating their passion, their child. Why are you telling my child she could go to school and be a writer? Why is she
Wow.
home filling out scholarship applications for schools away to study journalism? Why is she
Yeah.
studying English? What you supposed to do is study in English.
Yeah.
I'm like, Soldier Lion, what?
See, and that's a difficult. So, you have parents that aren't involved, and then you have parents that, I don't want to say too involved, but
They involved for the wrong reason, or in the
Right.
wrong way.
right,
Yep.
they involved for selfish reasons. You
For
know what
the
I
ego.
mean? And so it's a combination of parenting and teaching, but you know, everybody says it starts at home.
Yes.
So let's go back to, you know, the ground level before we wrap up. The homes. And I think I asked this last week, but for those that weren't watching last week, what's the typical like household for what society would consider to be the troubled or rebellious or bad students? Is there a common, you know, denominator or common theme when it comes to their background or the kinds of homes they come from?
Well, yeah. It's always that single parent home. But I've seen so many successes from single parent homes that I don't like to say that that's the cause.
Right. But then again, oftentimes those are the outliers.
Yes.
And those are people that often, no matter what situation you put them in, they gonna thrive.
Yes.
So and this is what I was thinking about over the past few days. I think we need to make our systems for the majority of the people as opposed to the outliers in this situation, like the people that are going to do well regardless. We tend to leave, and this is what I hear when anybody poses to, you know, the ministry or whoever's in charge of education, you know, well, these systems aren't working. They always say, well, we have this student getting all A's and this student is successful and it worked for this student. Yeah, but what about the 60 to 70% that is not working for?
But I think, based on the classes that I've had, and I've always had well, most teachers in our language department tend to have ranging from the top set to a low set. So you'd have one very high set, then you'd have an average set, then you'd have a low set. And I think for every child that I know was a problem child to the school, not to me because I very rarely have problems, that was a problem to the school, I had 2 other children who came from single parent homes that were successes. So I don't think they're outliers per se, these ones who are successful coming from the single parent home. I just think the amount of love, regardless of how many people are there, because the Grammy, the auntie, if it's just the father, it's all about how much interest and love you put into that child. Because some of the problematic ones come from the nuclear families as well.
That's true. That is
and
very
they
true.
will fight their mommy and their daddy on the doorstep of Doris Johnson.
Very true. Very true.
So
So it's not, and I think a lot of people tend to use that as like the be-all and all solution. We just need, both parents in the household.
No,
blah
no,
blah. And
no,
like you said,
no,
that's not the
that's
only
not it.
thing.
Because my Doris Johnson's top student, and the one that was right underneath that, who was the next top, all of them were top to me because I had never seen writing like that before in my life. And they said it was because of me, but I think that was just inherently in them. One was raised.
You, Hannah, you helped
Yes,
to bring it up.
one was raised by his grandmother. The next one was just raised by her mother, and then the next was just raised by her father. So the 3 of them were in those single parent or guardian homes. And then the ones that were actually problematic in that class, who didn't necessarily want to push beyond where they were comfortable, had mommy and daddy.
Yeah, so I think that's the problem I have is when we have these kinds of discussions or when we try to find solutions for things, people often think it's just there's one thing we need to do and we can get rid of all these problems. And the one they tend to refer to in these situations when it comes to households and students and schools is single parents. And like you said, that's not necessarily the case. Now, it helps. It's beneficial. It's beneficial when you have both parents in the household because you get that help. You understand?
But you could have both parents there and they ain't doing a goddamn thing.
Exactly. So that's not the only thing that needs to be fixed.
Right.
So let me go through a couple more comments. I saw a few up here. Okay. Loletta H. Thomas says, or Thomas. Was it Thomas or Thomas?
Thomas.
Thomas? Chrissy ran me last time when I say Thompson. She says Thompson. Anyhow. She says, one thing that, what is this? I guess she meant to say pisses me off. One thing that pisses me off are parents who are completely disconnected from their children and their lives, who want to rough them up and embarrass them after they make a mistake. Parents like that need to go to Scared Straight. Now, I agree, and I thought about it today. We tend to freak out on our children for the smallest things. Like, for example, if they were to spill something on the floor, spill something on the floor. They want to rough them up, hide them up, beat them, you know what I mean? Freak out. And I think to myself, I know sometimes when I spill some water, I don't get rough up. So do you rough yourself up when you spill water on the floor? Is it that big of a deal that you got to almost destroy the child because they spill water? So we tend to freak out over little things. So I agree with Loletta on that point. Deidre says, parenting nowadays, I guess she mean parents, eh? But anyhow, let me read it like just how she typed it. Parenting nowadays are entirely different parents trying to become friends with their kids with no ground rules. Now, Deidre, this is something that I hear a lot, but I'm glad that you put that in that last part in there. Because what happens is, and you hear this all the time, especially among Bahamians, too much of these parents trying to be friends with their children. You ain't supposed to be no friend, you ain't no friend. That is, and I will continue to say this, that has to be one of the stupidest things I have ever heard in my life. Oh, I guess we lost Gail. She called him back. Okay. That is one of the stupidest things that I have ever heard in my life. And like I said, and I continue to say, listen, if you don't be, and you opened with it as to why they even joined the gangs. If you don't be your child friend or somebody that they trust they could confide in or come to with issues, they can seek that elsewhere. And oftentimes it ends up being Teflon Timmy and Daddy Juxu in the gang. And this is how they get roped into these gangs so easily, because you don't want to be a child friend. Now, like I said, I'm glad that Deidre said with their kids with no ground rules.
Yes.
That is very important.
Yes.
So you could be friends, but you still have to establish ground rules, and you can still, you know, be a disciplinarian in a friendship relationship.
Yes, you can. Yes.
So it's a balance. I think we bipolar as a society, man. We only understand extremes. You know what I mean? That's our problem. Deidre also says back in the day, parenting is the best way. Parenting is the best way of parenting, and younger parents should take note. Okay, I don't think I understand. Oh, she's saying back in the day parenting. Now you have to explain what that means, because Deidre, there are some back in the day parenting, you know, ways that I completely disagree with. We wasn't completely right back in the day, so we shouldn't just take things in because that's what we used to do back in the day. And she also says, I'm talking about where you don't have to beat them, just one look and they know to sit still. Okay, we know about that.
I know exactly what you mean.
Dakota looking for Chrissy. Listen, Dakota, I called Chrissy. Chrissy was in the restaurant and she seemed to be having some issues with them people, so she dealing with that situation or something going on. She was supposed to call back, but I guess she ain't get sorted out yet. So I guess we have Deidre's a first listener, by the way. She says,
"Hey, welcome, Deidre."
Yes, welcome, Deidre.
Thank
She
you.
says she needs a reminder, and she said she was loving the show, and says this needs to be daily. Gail, well, Deidre, here's the thing. This show takes time, it takes effort, it takes funding. So, if you wonderful listeners would love to have us on daily discussing these topics, then you know, we don't hate to dip in your pocket a little bit and give some donations,
$10
so that so that we could be able to pay for a location and
$3 and some food stamps and be good.
Man, listen, hey, crowdfunding is the deal. You don't have to put plenty, but if plenty of you all put in a little bit, that's plenty money. So our website is goundertherug.com. That's the website, goundertherug.com. We have a section where you can contribute if you want to give little $5, $10, $15, whatever. You can give it on the website. And maybe we can work towards having the show on daily. I'd love to do it, but hey, listen, money have you make. And I have a business to run, so unfortunately at this time we can't do it daily. Linda Russell says, when my daughter was a classroom teacher here in Florida, she always organized career days for her students. As an administrator, she still makes the students aware of all the career options out there.
That's
Continue
how you
your
do it.
great work, Miss Knowles.
Thank you very much, Linda Russell.
Tito says, if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid.
Yeah, that same thing.
Touch on that, Erin. Well, does our students, I mean not students, does our system, our education system still judge the fish in the classroom on their ability to climb trees?
It's a rhetorical question.
I mean, hey,
come
listen,
on.
for those that may not be aware.
That's a hypothetical
Listen, this
question.
same, what's it, cliche or saying or adage or whatever you want to call it, always comes around when BGCSE reports come out. When the results come out, we hit that national D. Garbage, right? Because there's no such thing as a national average. But that's the perfect example. We're judging fish who's supposed to be climbing tree. That's what it say?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Judging
what,
fish.
because come on, man. BGCSE, any form of standardized testing where you can only write your response is judging fish on climbing the tree. Because lots of children who may not be able to write very well can articulate the exact same thing way better than the 4.0 student if they were asked, if they were simply asked. So if we had various performative measures of assessment, we wouldn't even have to have a national average, because then you would be giving every child a fair chance to prove their level of intelligence and common sense and analyzing. And then at the same time, all of our examinations are focused on rote learning, except
Now explain
English
what that
language.
is.
Rote learning is you memorize enough to figure out where that answer go on that paper.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Memorization.
Regurgitation.
Most definitely.
Regurgitation. That's all it is. So at any given point, you can only perform as well as you can remember. Not analyze, not synthesize, not critique, not justify. Nothing. The higher level of thinking is not assessed on our examinations.
That's why I hate schooling.
Yeah.
Because I my head bad, boy. I can't remember much.
That's why I do for my classes. Yes, I still have to do the end of term examinations because I work for the government and that's the rules. But my in-class assessment varies from Jeopardy games where you can tell me your understanding to comic strips where you can draw out your story and I can mark the various points of that story, the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, denouement. I can see that if you draw that. We can do performances, all sorts of things you can do to test whether a child is understanding a concept.
Right.
And I try my best to always give every child that same opportunity. But at the end of the day, what matters in this country is PGCSE.
Unfortunately. And I never understood that. That's I can tell you now. I tell people all the time, listen, how much BGCSE I had? How much it was again, Gail?
I don't
4.
even want to say how much I have.
4 or 5, and I had
I ain't passed maths yet.
Listen, I hated school. I hate tests because that whole me. I'm a hands-on person. I like to do. Like I'll watch. When I buy something, I show the instruction to me. You understand? I can figure it out. That's the kind of person I am. And we don't focus on people that learn, like you said, that learn differently.
Yes.
We just tend to focus on this one way. So let's wrap up with how can we fix this? How can we address this this disconnect between not only the parents or guardians of these children, but also the teachers and these children? Because there's not only a disconnect at home, but there seems to be a disconnect in school also. Because, like you said, when you are incorporating other methods to get them involved, other teachers see it as, oh, you got a noisy class or you're doing it wrong. But you're getting results.
The thing is, teacher training, we have to start there. You have to change the fundamental beliefs and pedagogy of teachers. The way they're going to teach is based on the very archaic system that teachers been learning since 1942 as such. So we have to change our approach, our methodologies, how we're going to teach these children. They're different. They are, and as they say, you never stop learning. So no teacher should still be teaching the same way they did 5 years ago.
But how do we get those stubborn teachers to adopt this new mentality, this new approach? Like, what can we do to get them on board? Because I always used to think that you guys were pigeonholed by way of policies, but it seems as though you have some range or some freedom to incorporate different methods within the classroom. You're not limited in that regard. Is that correct? Like, you guys can...
Yes, you do have some
So how
leeway.
do we get... So that's not the problem. The actual policy with the methods that you use is not the issue.
No.
So it seems to be a lot of teachers seem to want to hold on to the old way of doing things.
Because that's all they know.
How can we get them? Should it be a retraining program of
Yes.
all the teachers
I think,
that we...
I think they would retire before they do
Would you say, Gail, fire them?
Yes. How are you a teacher and you don't have a passion for teaching? Like, what Erin is describing is a very basic passion for your students to do better. I'm sure if she had more money, her classroom would probably look like a Google or something center, right? But so many teachers, again, and so many people in our society have a job for the sake of it being a job.
Thank you, Gail.
A lot of teachers, these older teachers who stick with these things. How are you a teacher and can't change your way of thinking? Like, how are you a teacher and not open to alternate methods of doing something or learning something?
Right.
To me, that seems like an oxymoron. So,
But then the thing is, even when I did my training, it was the same as what those teachers did. So they aren't actually doing anything to improve the teacher training at all. The teachers coming out next year will be trained the exact same way I was, and I see it. I see it every year. So it doesn't matter if you started teaching in 1993 and start teaching in 2017, it's the exact same thing. The exact same training.
You need to get rid of the people who don't have a passion for it.
Yeah, but
yeah,
you know what the issue is with that though, Gail?
No, sir.
And this is what we have to do policy-wise, where I think policy comes into play. I think teachers should be valued more. I don't think we have a value and appreciation. I think because they
don't get paid enough, number one.
Exactly. And so because we need teachers for these reasons, they don't make enough money. They have to dig in their pocket to buy supplies. Because the atmosphere and environment is so, like, who would want to volunteer for that? Who would want to sign up to do that? You know what I mean? So I think you have to make the job more desirable. So it has to be better pay. It has to be better benefits. It has to be where they're going to get the necessary supplies. Like, it has to be something that makes people say, I want to be a teacher, and I know that I'm going to receive the support and I'm going to get paid what I deserve. Yes. Because if you have a low pay and you're just bringing in any and everybody, you're going to have, like you said, only 5% good teachers. It's because the filter at the beginning is so wide. It ain't no filter. It's just, you want to go to teach, go to COB, take this course, and then come back to us.
Yeah.
And it's that, and that's it. I mean, I don't know if that's all
that's exactly what it is.
Okay, well, see, I was right. Go to COB, take this course, and then come back, you got a job. I think we should take more care in who we hire as teachers. But like I say, it's difficult to do now because you don't have many people signing up to be a teacher in the first place. So you have to basically take whoever come. So I think we have to make it more desirable. We have to put the value in the teachers. We put value elsewhere, and we ignore that important, I think, one of, if not the most important job in the country is teaching. Yeah. Because you are actually molding the future of the country. You are responsible for the future of the country. And we have to treat it as such. And then again, it's not just putting it on the teachers. We also have to make better decisions as parents, as a society. When we have children, we have to be, like, what I don't get, you know, this may be controversial, right? But we need a license for a car, right?
Yeah.
A vehicle that you need to drive. You got people's lives in hands, you got to get a license. But any and everybody could have children.
Yeah.
No kind of tests. No kind of, you don't have to show that you're competent. You don't have to show that you are capable. Anybody could just juice and have children. Now, I'm not saying that we should restrict people and, you know, you got to go to apply for a license to have children. But the same amount of care that we take and concern that we take with people driving motor vehicles, we need to take with